Welcome everyone, it's the Crypto Lark and I'm very excited to have on the show today Zaphoid from SmartCash. Welcome.
Hey, Lark, it's a pleasure to be here. I've been a big fan of yours for a while now.
Thank you very much. We were just talking a bit before we started recording here about how it's been so long since I've talked about SmartCash. So it's definitely time to have the SmartCash conversation again, see what you guys have been up to. But for anybody who might be new to SmartCash or hasn't heard a lot about SmartCash before, can you give us just the quick version? What are you guys doing?
Well, my little elevator pitch is we're trying to get the currency back in cryptocurrency. We are focused on using SmartCash as a medium of exchange for in-person transactions, business-to-person transactions, and business-to-business transactions. We want to target that money supply, and we want to be used as money. We feel that too many cryptocurrencies kind of talk about that and then go off to do whatever is, but we really want to focus on the usage of cryptocurrency as currency.
Nice. I mean, you don't want to build like a smart contract platform on top of it and start running ICOs and.
Yeah, no, definitely. Don't get me started on ICOs, man. Really.
Well, money is obviously one of the primary functions that we've seen so far, obviously, for cryptocurrencies. And like I said, it's purely putting the currency back in the crypto thing. And there's an amazing amount of use cases for blockchain technology. But peer-to-peer finance, that's a pretty big one, without a doubt. So this currency aspect is important. Of course, SmartCash, it's a good name, actually. You guys did quite well with snagging that name for the cryptocurrency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we wanted to keep it simple and straightforward, just like our mission.
Nice. Now, there is going to be an airdrop coming up in about a day from now. You're taking the snapshot for that. So, can you tell us a little bit about the Bitcoin Confidential airdrop? What's it about?
Well, we're launching, you said, Bitcoin Confidential. The focus of Bitcoin Confidential is to focus on confidential transactions as much as SmartCash is focused on being used as a currency. We did launch SmartCash a year ago with some privacy features in it, but for various reasons, including regulatory resistance, as well as just technologically speaking, for a privacy coin to work, it needs to be private all the time. We pulled all that tech out of SmartCash and then have opted to use ring signatures in Bitcoin Confidential. The snapshot is on the 15th at 0700 UTC, and we're dropping to all the SmartCash holders who have at least one smart in their wallet, just so we don't deal with a bunch of dust. And we're going to exclude the Hive treasury system, which I guess we'll talk a little bit about later. So none of the Hive or project funds will get any of the Bitcoin Confidential, just the users who have SmartCash.
And obviously, you would need to have that in your smart wallet, not on an exchange.
Correct. A couple exchanges have talked to us, but as with everything, we're a big fan of the be your own bank here. So prove you own your SmartCash and keep it in your own wallet.
There you go. Now, why the name? Right? It's because you're not forking Bitcoin necessarily. You're forking, I guess you're airdropping from SmartCash. So why did you come up with the name Bitcoin Confidential?
Well, just like SmartCash is a very simple, straightforward name, we wanted to harken back to the old ideals of Bitcoin when everybody used to think that pseudo-anonymous meant actually anonymous. And we are using the latest Bitcoin code, which is one area where we stand out from the other coins that are using ring signatures. And we're doing a proof of stake version 3, so there will be cold staking, which helps with it too. But really simple. This is a confidential Bitcoin. We're not making it overly complicated. We want something that the average person will know what we're talking about when we tell them what it is. 88% of the people in America have heard of Bitcoin, but only 11% have heard of any other cryptocurrency. So this is just want something that's not just appealing to the crypto space, but we want something that we can explain easily to anyone and everyone.
There you go. So it's proof of stake, ring signatures, some Bitcoin code, Bitcoin Confidential.
Yep, exactly.
Why ring signatures? Why privacy all the time?
Well, you can go pretty deep into that, but for the high level, you have basically 3 different kinds of privacy tech in the crypto space right now. There's mixing, which everybody knows doesn't actually protect you against anybody who actually wants to track you. There's ZK snarks, which is fairly effective, comes with a lot of overhead, but it requires that you trust the original signer of the ZK Snark stuff. So it's not really what I would consider to be trustless or keeping in the spirit of a decentralized cryptocurrency. And ring signatures has been proven to be quite effective in Monero so long as you have enough private transactions to generate those signatures from. Whereas if you have a bunch of non-private transactions on the chain, it's relatively easy with a high level of confidence to identify who's sending what coins where. So that's why we want always on ring signatures, because it's the one thing that works right now that we know.
Yeah, I've always, back to the ZK Snarks thing, I've always found this situation to be quite funny. It's like a bunch of people go in a room and promise you that something happened, and you just have to trust that they did it. I mean, look, with like Zcash, I'm fairly certain that they did do it, but there is that moment, right, where you think, well, what if they didn't, right? You just have to believe that whatever they said happened in that room that you couldn't see into happened.
Yeah, and that really is the problem. I mean, we are trying to go for as little trust in the space as possible. And people don't really get the concept of trustless. Like, trustless doesn't mean that when I send you money, I don't trust you're going to give me what I bought for you. That's not what trustless means. Trustless means that when I send you money, I don't have to trust that Visa and my bank and your bank and the US government are all going to agree that I should be able to send you money. Yeah. The point of our peer-to-peer technology is that I am sending money to you, and you are hopefully giving me something in return for it. So, I mean, again, ZK Snarks built on solid tech. I have nothing against the tech of it.
Oh, it works well, yeah. I mean, especially with their upgrades, you know, it's powerful technology without a doubt.
Yeah. But as you said, the signing ceremony, I mean, it's fine now, but, you know, what happens if ever gets to be $100 trillion coin? Are you really still going to trust that signing ceremony? I mean, the motivation to figure out a way around that and to figure out the people who may or may not have deleted that key is pretty high at that point. So
that's it. They're going to be abducting Zuko and like you know, hypnotizing him and stuff, trying to get it out of him. And
exactly. All that memory that you don't think you have, right? They can get that hypnosis or something. Yeah,
it'll be like Inception, man. They'll be coming in and. Anyway, that's ZK Snarks. I want to move on to actually the recent stress test. You know, as interesting as Bitcoin Confidential is, and for anybody who, you know, wants to get that airdrop, you know, go out and you have a few hours still, get some smart and put it in your smart wallet and wait for that airdrop to come. But recently, you guys did a stress test for SmartCash. So, how did that stress test go?
It showed some weaknesses and showed some strengths. The bottom line is we can handle about 100 transactions per second reliably, consistently on our chain. Mm-hmm. We could peak out at about 380, but when you get going that many, then you end up with a few more orphan blocks and such, as the network is very clogged with the incoming transactions. So our goal, not in this upcoming version of 1.3, but in 1.4, is to optimize that quite a bit, because to be cash, we have to handle more than that. On the upside, the 100 transactions per second is currently the fastest proven Bitcoin derivative coin out there. Dash recently moved 3 million transactions in a day and got about, I think, 28 transactions per second over the day. So we can be happy to say that we're faster than that. But that's not where we want to stay. We need to be able to handle more than that if we're going to actually be cash.
Yeah, so well, if you want to deliver on that promise, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we're happy with it. We proved the point of what we could do, but that's not where we're going to stay. And it is a focus of ours, because we want to keep things simple and straightforward, but we have to have a solid base to do that with.
Nice. I appreciate the honesty. It's like, yeah, we did okay, but we need to do better. So that's good. Now, you guys have been focusing on Latin American countries, particularly Venezuela and Brazil. They've been a big focus for SmartCash and SmartCash community. Can you tell us what's going on with SmartCash in those two countries? What's the community like, and where do you want to go?
Well, right now in Brazil, you can live entirely on SmartCash without touching their fiat currency. We have enough partnerships with exchanges and other people there that You can pay everything from your parking ticket to your rent to your Starbucks by using SmartCash.
Wow.
So
That's awesome.
we're happy with that. Our developers who live in Brazil, they don't have fiat. They actually, I mean, they have Airbnb or whatever, and they'll make some fiat that way, but they immediately buy SmartCash with it, and they live entirely on SmartCash there, which is great. I'm thrilled with that, and we're continuing to add more and more tools there. Right now, with our Smart Band, which is our partnership with Atar down there, that gives us the ability to use SmartCash via the band at about 85% of the merchants in Brazil, so well over 2 million. And the merchant doesn't care. They get their fiat currency, and the user uses their SmartCash. So it's a win-win all around. And of course, our goal is that we want the merchants to accept SmartCash, which is why we have the Smart Card, which is the only crypto-to-crypto payment card in existence. Everything is on-chain. You have your Smart Card. You go into a supporting merchant. They scan your card. You put in your PIN, and they have a confirmed transaction in about a second and a half. And that's the only thing like it in existence right now. We're very happy with it. It allows for areas where you might not have your cell phone with you, or you don't have coverage. You're traveling internationally, or you're somewhere, or whatever. You can just have this card, and you can pay securely using SmartCash, which we love. And the goal is that we keep pushing that out everywhere we can, so that the merchants who are tired of paying the 3, 4, 5% Visa, MasterCard legacy network fees can go to a system where they don't pay that. Right now, the average transaction fee on the SmartCash network is 0.001 smart, so basically free.
And that makes really small transactions possible, because a lot of time merchants won't want to accept, a credit card for like a $5 or a $2 purchase or something like that, because they have to pay these fees on it. They don't make any money.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing. And we get our purpose is cash, but with this, SmartCash for all sorts of small transactions very cheaply and easily. Like, the chickens and the ducks that you can pay with the various cryptos now. SmartCash is on that, and we're very effective on that now because it's fast and cheap to send it. So you're not spending a few cents to send 50 cents to feed your chickens. It's just you're sending less than 100th of a cent right now.
We need to get like SmartCash sloths or something like this, some like really like, the chickens and the ducks they've been done. We need to really, or SmartCash platypuses or something, something really exciting to feed.
I was thinking llamas, but
dude, if you get SmartCash llamas going, like that's gonna be like my crack, dude. I'm gonna be here all day, like, oh my god, I'm feeding the llamas. This would be great.
Oh yeah, we hope to have a lot of fun with it. We already have a bunch of our team members who have the devices, the iOS devices, and they're having a great time. We have some really cute pictures of their kids paying with SmartCash and getting M&Ms and stuff. So it's a lot of fun. We're looking forward to seeing what our community can do with that.
That's awesome. Those are fun little implementations, but I think the real thing is that's amazing that people in Brazil right now they can literally live on SmartCash, and I think I see so many people in my comment section so often saying, well, it's just cryptocurrency is all just about speculation. There's no real world application of it. You can't do anything with it. Like, no, you're missing the picture. You can. And, I know in Australia, they have Living Room of Satoshi, and it lets people pay for their rent and their power and all this stuff using cryptocurrency. To have that same situation happening in Brazil with SmartCash, that's awesome.
Yeah, we love it, and the political environment in Brazil is interesting. We're all, fairly small government people. We don't want the government to get in the way. As we said, it's peer-to-peer. The government shouldn't have anything to say about me giving you money for whatever reason I want to. And the government in Brazil, thankfully, with this last election, whatever he is, certainly more free market minded. He is not increasing regulation on the financial or the business side of things. So cryptocurrencies there are quite forward. I mean, we've actually partnered with a bank-like location in Brazil, so you can buy and sell SmartCash at 14,000 physical locations in Brazil right now. Wow. So you search for in the favela on YouTube, and you'll see one of our team members there going to one of these places and buying some SmartCash with physical money.
That's awesome.
In person.
That's awesome.
And to move on to your other startling there, the Venezuela situations, that's exactly the opposite there. In that country, the government is openly hostile to anything except their horribly inflationary currency and the new cryptocurrency, the Petro. And yeah, and didn't have enough time to read about it, but apparently the Petro is a thing now, and some people actually bring at least government employees and the like. So they're pushing that out, and we'll have to see how much they crack down on other cryptocurrencies now that the Petro is a thing in person there. So it's going to be a very interesting experiment to watch that. And I'll go a little bit tinfoil hatty for a minute here because I do that now and again. And the blockchain, amazing invention, gave us back the potential to have free market currency and control our own currency. That being said, it also gives a centralized government everything they want in a currency. For lack of a better term, the upcoming Fed coin that will happen gives the Fed all the control over your money that they could ever possibly want.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's it. They can install these backdoors to freeze your account and stuff like this, and trace every single penny from point A to whatever point it gets to. Make sure it's all taxed. Yeah, they're gonna love it.
Exactly. So we need to continue to build free market currency world so that they're always playing catch up, and we will always have the better currency. Because that's the only way we're going to win this. We're not going to win this on ideals. We're going to win this by making something better. Just like Uber is doing to the taxi industry, and they didn't ask permission to the governments to come in and start being Uber. They just came in, were better than everybody else, and then the governments had to adapt. Mm-hmm. And that's what cryptocurrency needs to do.
In fact, if Uber had asked permission, they would have never got anywhere because the taxi lobby would have come in. Oh, someone's asking for permission to compete with us? No, let's pay off some politicians so it doesn't happen. So. Exactly.
So, that's the attitude we need to have in the cryptocurrency space is build better tools and don't ask permission.
Now, I know in the cryptocurrency space, look, the reality is that no one crypto project has all the users yet or anything, and actually we're all kind of working together for the same goals largely. But in terms of what I see with SmartCash versus like maybe PivX or Dash being as very similar projects to SmartCash, do you see them as competition, and if so, why? Or do you see them more as just collaborators and building something bigger?
We're all collaborators in trying to push out this space. We have slightly different mechanisms here, and yeah, we are in competition because we are fighting for the same space, but our focus isn't to fight over the little piece of pie that we currently have in the crypto space. Our focus is the entire monetary pie out there, of which we are barely a crumb right now. And as much as PivX and Dash can be successful in what they do, more power to them. We feel that we have a better model and better tools already than PivX or Dash do. And we think that we are the better cryptocurrency in that space, obviously. But I've talked to Joel, I've talked to various people at Dash, I've been on shows with them. There's no hard feelings or anything. We're all just fighting for the same goal. Just because we think we have a different means of getting there, or slightly better means of getting there, doesn't mean I hate them or anything like that.
Yeah, it's just about, everyone finding their communities, and there will be people in communities and regions and cities and countries and all those things who, for one reason or another, gravitate towards one crypto or another crypto. And the decentralized systems are always going to have an advantage over the centralized, like the Petro, for example. I don't think anyone's excited about that except the Venezuelan government. Another way we can steal the wealth from our country. Great. But regular citizens aren't excited about that. And whether you want to go down, and there'll probably be a situation in the future where local shops, you walk in your local shop and it'll say, crypto accepted here, and there'll be services that'll let you pay in SmartCash or PivX or whatever it is, and it'll take care of the conversion for you with that sort of wide acceptance of different cryptos. So you won't have to this shop only accepts SmartCash. I'm going to go across the street because they accept Dash over there,
Exactly. We saw with the credit card industry as Visa, MasterCard, Discover, Amex, and a few of the others that we no longer know anything about. They all competed, but when it came right down to it for stores to do what they wanted to do, they have terminals and software that accepted them all. And in the long run, in the crypto space, I expect that will really be the case as we have more tools allow for easier stuff. And, I'm a big fan of the atomic swap kind of style of things. That's why we're on the Atomic Wallet. But we don't necessarily know what tools will be available in the future. This is technology; things change quite quickly. But I'm not one of those people who think that there will be one coin to rule them all worldwide. One global. This is going to be the free market. Even if there will be one that has a big share of it, there still will be others. Just like Google has most of the search traffic, but plenty of people prefer to use other stuff, like me.
Exactly. Now, in terms of the governance of SmartCash, this is a community-governed project largely. So what are the challenges and I guess the benefits of having community governance of your cryptocurrency?
We have a unique governance system in the way we do things. So we have our 6 Hive teams, which are focused on different areas. And each of those teams gets a small percentage of the block rewards to do with as they will. And then we have the project fund, which can only be accessed via proposals. And actually almost half, or 46% of every block reward, goes towards the project fund. And that fund is there for anybody in the community or wherever to put forward proposals that they think will better SmartCash to get funded by the rest of the SmartCash to do it. And this is something that we allow everybody who holds SmartCash to vote. We're not a democratic system or a elitist system that only lets nodes vote. We actually have one SmartCash equals one vote. So whatever your stake in the system is, that's your say in these proposals. So basically, if you have 1 million smart, that's essentially 1 million votes. If you have 1 smart, that's 1 vote. Or if you have 0.001 smart, that's 0.001 votes. And the goal here is that I'm in a Hive team. We do get funded directly from the block rewards, but I don't necessarily know the best way to handle your hometown or your industry or your group of farms or whatever. I only know what I know. And if you say, hey, I can talk to these people, I can get them to accept SmartCash, or I'm part of this group, we need these resources to help us accept SmartCash or get it, or I'm running an event in my community, I want SmartCash to sponsor it, or even I can write these bots for Discord, please fund me to do that and run the servers for 2 years. Anything like that is what we want to have happen with our community, and we want to give our community the tools to be able to do that, versus just saying, you're a volunteer, go off and do what you're going to do, or hey, we know best, we're just going to do what we want to do. No, this is a worldwide community project, and our goal is to keep things as decentralized, for lack of a better term, than centralized. I don't know what you can do, and you don't know what I can do, so convince everybody that you can do it right.
That's it. Let's collaborate. Let's all work together, and I think that actually gets people involved, right? I don't feel like with my bank, for example, like, I don't know, I'm going to go out and promote my bank to other people, or that I'm going to I don't know, go down and say, hey, are you accepting payments from my bank yet, or any of that stuff. Like, no, it's a business model. They make money off of me. Like, I'm their customer. I'm not part of their community, right? I think it's really different with cryptocurrencies, where it's actually, no, I'm actually part of that community, right? I talk to the people, and it's a totally different way of thinking about finance, because it's not top-down finance. It's this this sort of flat playing field where everyone's kind of on the same level.
Well, we talk so much in cryptocurrency about store of value. I mean, that's obviously a big thing with Bitcoin, being a store of value. But what is value? I mean, value is simply the results of your labor. If we go all the way back, to the barter system, I have chickens and you have shoes, and we hope we can work something out. Where what currency is a way to abstract that out. So if I have shoes and you have chickens, but you don't need any more shoes and I don't need any more chickens, we can still do business. And the value is very personal, because what I value is not what you value, and how much you value that painting behind you is probably different than how much I value that painting behind you. And so it's all from the bottom up. It should be very personal, versus what we have now with the Federal Reserve and central bank system, where it's like, oh, don't worry about it. Smarter people and better people than you are taking care of it, which I hope most of us here know that is the case, right? I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
These people do not have your interests in mind, and they are not brilliant individuals. uh, but we just learned just yesterday that the Federal Reserve is now losing $66 billion a year on its balance sheet. So,
how do that? It's like the weatherman. You know, the weatherman gets on the TV every day and is, you know, wrong more than half the time or whatever. Like, how does that guy keep his job?
Sorry, I was about to go way off on a tangent of how, you know, if you look at standard economics, you listen to Paul Krugman, our favorite standard economics tier, and they'll just never tell you what causes economic crashes. You know, the 2008 crash, oh, sure, you know, homeowners and whatnot, but why did that happen? Oh, just, you know, animal spirits, whatever, you know, it just happens, it's inevitable.
Market voodoo.
Market's going to do what it's going to do, without looking at, you know, what is the basis? What does everything in the market touch? Your money. And who controls your money, and who controls who gets your money, and who controls how easy and cheap it is to get money? Well, these people, maybe they have something to do with it. So
crazy theory.
I could go off on a rant for that for a while, but you know, we've seen what happens. I mean,
that's right.
You know, the U.S. failed on the gold standard in the 70s, and what has happened since then, except rampant inflation, centralization of money, the rich are getting richer.
That's it. That's it. It's a tough system. And it's no wonder that people are so excited about cryptocurrency, because it changes the narrative. And the narrative has been control, inflation, lower purchasing power, the rich getting richer. Like, who wants to sign on for that? Except, I guess, you know, the 0.1% of people who are benefiting from that system. Mm-hmm. Everyone else looks at this system and goes, I didn't sign up for this. When was I asked? I wasn't. I was born into this system, right? By the time I was born, it was already moving in this direction. And, you know, politics are totally unrepresentative anyway. You go and get to elect people, no matter who you elect, to get the same damn results because they work for the same people. It's crazy.
Exactly. And to circle back around to Brazil, which is my favorite country to talk about, you know, it's great talking to people from Brazil, because they actually had hyperinflation in the 90s. And that's when they switched to their current fiat currency, the Brazilian real. But I've talked to people there who, they remember working in a grocery store in the 90s and having to change prices 3 times a day. Remembering that banks had to be open 24 hours, because as soon as you got your check, you had to get your cash, you had to buy your groceries, otherwise you were going to go hungry. And even now, the Brazilian system targets a 5% inflation rate. So you know that if you're holding on to money, it's going to be 5% less next year, 5% less the year after that, and so on and so forth. And, you know, you probably might remember that after a year when it's worth 1,000% less. Yeah. You know, it's not a system that encourages people to save. And just like our system now doesn't here, even though we have a smaller inflation rate, we still don't encourage people to save. We force everybody to become a speculator in the stock markets in order to just save for retirement. Where if we had a sound money system, they just save up and then they'll have as much money as they save. Where now, if you save up, you're going to have half as much money as you save by the time you retire. Which is, frankly, you know, a theft for everybody. It's a tax that everybody has to pay and nobody thinks about.
Yeah, it's an invisible tax, right? And it's like, okay, technically I still have the same amount of numbers there, you know, but those same numbers only buy half as much as they used to. And that's inflation is a really subtle way of, you know, stealing, I guess, essentially, right? It's this invisible tax that, 5% annually. I mean, that's crazy. And this is it's no wonder people are interested in cryptocurrencies, right? Yeah, okay, the market's down right now, but if you invested in Bitcoin 5 years ago, you've gone up massively. Not only have you avoided that, 5% annual decrease in your own currency if you live in Brazil, but you've also been able to get the gains over time from the cryptocurrency as a long-term investment. So you can really see this here. Now, before we finish up, I did want to talk a little bit about the roadmap. So the 2018 SmartCash roadmap, what were the results of that? Were you able to hit all the goals that you had on the 2018 roadmap?
We missed a couple of them because of just the way the market happened and because we had to adapt for testing. So one of the big things we wanted to do this year was get a 24/7 phone help desk going. That's simply to do. So it would have been a waste for us to do it. Just the bear market came in and there just wasn't as much interest worldwide. Now we still have our Discord and our help desk and everything else 24/7, and it still is our goal to get a phone help desk going in every language that we can, available 24/7 to help people. But that's going to be a when it's needed thing versus a let's just schedule that out, because we don't know what's going to happen for that. but we have the stuff in place, so we should be able to spin that up pretty fast. The other thing we didn't hit was adaptive blocks. That was a method to, so you don't have 1 meg blocks, you don't have 8 meg blocks, you have whatever size block you need up to the limit. And the reason we didn't do that is actually related to our stress test, where we found that at 4 meg blocks every 55 seconds, that is not the limiting factor on how fast transactions can move. We need to have better network propagation before we get to whatever size blocks we want. So right now, at a 4 meg block for the standard transaction, we have 380 transactions per second in there. That works out to be, I'm not going to do the math in my head right now, a lot of transactions in that block. And the size is not the limiting factor. It's the number of actual transactions and all the nodes validating that. So that's why
it's the classic, isn't it? It's not the size; it's the number of transactions. Everyone remember that.
I mean, if you have, in a 4 meg block, if we had a few hundred transactions with 1,000 inputs and outputs, those are giant transactions. Nobody cares. That's not going to kill anybody's system. It doesn't matter. It's a whole bunch of really tiny 1 input, 1 output transactions that you still takes the same amount of effort for everybody to validate. Mm-hmm. It's hard. And that's why when SV did their 64 meg block during their stress test, it took 40 minutes to propagate the network, and they had a couple block reorg because of it. That's exactly why. So that's the problem we're going to address. So it's not that we couldn't have done adaptive blocks, it's just wouldn't have solved any of the problems.
There you go. There you go. Sometimes making it bigger does not make it better, especially if you don't need to make it bigger, right? And now, looking forward to 2019, what can we expect from SmartCash?
Well, coming with the next version, 1.3, which is actively being tested right now. In fact, right before I got this call, I had to upgrade my test nodes to the latest test version. We're going to have more on-chain voting and proposal tracking, as well as upgrading our smart reward system to require voting to get smart rewards. We didn't really talk about smart rewards much, but basically smart rewards is 15% of the block rewards split among all the addresses with at least 1,000 smart in it and no withdrawals for that smart reward period, which is currently about 1 month, and we're upping it to about 3 months and requiring that you vote to actually get those smart rewards.
So you actually have to be participating in the community.
Yeah, so that's a big change. And also, for some other reasons, it really helps to have an opt-in process instead of an automatic process. So that's a big change coming now, and there's some back-end changes there. In the next version, 1.4, that should be out in the first quarter to half of the next year, will be what we're calling super nodes. And this is another layer of nodes on top of our smart node system. And these super nodes will actually run the smart card API as well as Electrum X servers. So this will decentralize all of that infrastructure even more to make it harder for people or governments to block IPs belonging to Electrum servers or smart card API. And they'll add a lot of decentralization and censorship resistance to that while incentivizing the community to actually run them.
Very cool. Lots of exciting things happening over at SmartCash.
Yeah, and that's going to be huge for us as we continue to grow our node network and our Electrum server infrastructure. So we're quite happy with that, and we feel that will be a big advantage. And of course, there's a lot of the unnamed optimizations that we hope to include in 1.4 and 1.5 that will continue to increase our ability to send lots and lots of transactions really, really fast, on top of our already good instant pay, which allows trustable transactions in a second and a half, and our 100 transactions per second that we can currently do.
There you go. You have to be as fast as credit cards, otherwise it's going to be hard to get people to transition over if they're sitting there waiting for a minute or 2 minutes. Like, it's just being able to do this with a credit card.
You're not going to wait a minute for your Slurpee purchase. I mean, you're going to go to the store, you're going to put in your card, it's going to go. Right now, our smart after went through that. We can charge smart card transactions faster than a chip and pin card or your regular credit card transaction. So that is our goal, to keep that going, because again, people working at a retail store are not going to want to wait for confirmation. And we've seen a lot of the double spend stuff that has come up really popularly in the Bitcoin Cash community right now. We have somebody proving that they could double spend to the hand cash point of sale just the other day. So zero conf as it is not good enough for anything where you want to rely on that. And sure, it's not a big issue right now, but if you actually are expecting your entire customer base to use this infrastructure, that's just not something you're going to want to rely on at Trust.
That's right. It's not good enough, without a doubt. Very, very cool. Zaphoid, thank you so much for coming on and, telling us what's going on with SmartCash and, going a bit on the privacy and federal banking. So that's always good, extra added value for everyone out there in the audience. So thank you so much for taking the time today. It's very interesting.
Well, thanks, Lark. It's always good to talk with you, and hopefully you don't feel too bad about me beating you on the quiz show a couple weeks ago.